There we go.
Hello. Okay, we're actually live. Sorry, we were just kind of
Didn't know how to do it for a second.
Yeah.
There we go.
So, am I standing in the right spot, Rachel? I mean, can you see me?
Oh, right, yeah. I can check through here.
Okay. Welcome here.
There we go. Sorry.
And can you see me? Am I standing in the right spot for everyone to see me?
Yeah.
Okay. So we are going to be painting some rocks on this painting that I started back in April. And I'm Lori, and I'm glad that you're here. I think someone's here with us. Yeah? Who's here?
Eastwood. He said, God bless you, Lori.
And God bless you, Eastwood. Are we on a Facebook group together by any chance? You can answer that if you want to. What I'm going to be painting is this beautiful image of a place near where I live called Francis Point Marine Park. And lots of opportunity to paint all of these rocks up here. So what I always like to do is do an underpainting so that the underpainting can show through and it's kind of done a lot of the work for you already. But what I'm going to do right now is put in some of these major rock outcroppings that I don't have on here yet, and that's what I'm going to do. So I have a flat brush and a pretty dark color. This is burnt umber mixed with Payne's gray. Payne's gray is actually purple, which is funny. But when you mix them together, it makes this beautiful, rich color that isn't black, and it isn't brown, and it isn't purple, but it's kind of just the best combination of all of those things. And I hope I'm talking loud enough. I feel like I'm yelling, actually. And by the way, I have my niece Rachel with me. I couldn't do this live stream without her. Thank you, Rachel, for being here.
Just reading all the comments.
Yeah. Is there some comments yet?
Not yet, just that one. Yeah.
Just one, okay. Good. What else can I tell you? So when I'm doing my landscape paintings, I'm just looking for abstract shapes and I'm trying to match them. So right now I just painted that rock, and this rock, and I'm seeing that there's another little rock between them. So at first it's not going to look like much. It's just going to look like blobs, and I'm just trying to mimic the shapes that I'm seeing and kind of in the proportions that I'm seeing them. So there's another big rock over here. So it's a really free way to paint, because it's kind of like drawing with your paintbrush, but really I'm just drawing the background first, the background of the rock, and then I'm going to do the midtones and the highlights last. And so there's a big, now I have to keep in mind that my canvas is a lot wider than my reference photo. So this image here is about, not quite halfway from this rock to the end. So I'm going to go right about there. And it's quite a lot bigger on my canvas. I have to pay attention to that. And just so you know, if you're watching live, that I don't need to always talk about the painting. If you have any questions or comments, or you want to tell me what you had for breakfast, or or where you live, or where you're watching from, that would be good too, because it just makes it a bit more interesting. It's sometimes you just have to watch the process to see the patterns of things, and it doesn't do a lot of good to just keep talking about it, but it's kind of fun to converse with you, so I don't mind that if you want to do that. I'm just going to take a second and show you the colors that I just mixed together to make these dark shapes. It's golden acrylic paint, burnt umber, and Payne's gray. Looks quite dark on the tube, but it's actually quite purple, which is kind of funny. Okay, so I've got this one and that one and this one. I'm going to do this guy up here. You know, it kind of looks to me like a bit of a block, kind of a block shape. And so what I do is when I mix a color, I try to find everywhere on that canvas that is that color, at least everywhere in the rocky section anyways. I'm not going to go up and do the trees and stuff right now because I just want to focus on teaching you how to paint rocks with acrylic right now. So I'm just looking for all the spots where this darkness shows up. Rachel, is that dark color kind of showing through even though I already have dark painted on the...
Yeah, no, you can definitely see it.
Okay, good. I was just telling Rachel that 2 days ago, I looked out my window here and there was 2 orcas just swimming on by. We have just kind of a bit of a peekaboo view of the ocean. And as soon as my mind recognized what it was, they were gone. But just a second ago, I thought I saw them again, but it ended up being kayakers.
Angie CPL said, "Hello, supporting you, sister.
Oh.
Yay, awesome! I'm going to do so too real soon."
Oh, do live? Awesome.
Yeah.
Angie, oh, that's awesome. Angie, are we on a Facebook group together?
Yeah, because that might be where we're getting all.
Yeah, it
people.
seems like it worked to let my Facebook groups know, the ones that I'm joined in with, know that I'm doing this. So otherwise, I don't know how people find out about lives, because YouTube's not great at telling your subscribers. And besides that, your subscribers are probably at work or something. But yeah, I would highly recommend it. It's really fun, especially when there's people to talk to. And this is only my second live stream. And there's something surprising when I did it the first time. Oh, I know. This painting has been sitting stagnant on in my art space since April, and it was just kind of that instigation to complete it. And if people are watching and I'm talking, I'm kind of not paying attention to the fact that I'm actually scared of this canvas. I get to this phase and I think, oh, it doesn't look like much of anything, and I kind of want to just not think about it and not, I don't know, it just gets me worried that I'm actually going to fail at a painting. And so then I just stop painting on it for a while until I find the motivation, and you guys all are my motivation. So there's another big blob up here, big rock. And so I'm kind of tuning out the fact that they're rocks. What I'm looking for is shapes and this dark color. And you'll see when I start putting the midtones and the highlights, all of a sudden the rocks start to pop, and it's crazy how quickly they start looking realistic. But it's really important not to focus too much about making them realistic at this phase. I'm just kind of abstract painting. I feel like I'm talking too much about the painting and it's kind of boring. Does anybody want to hear a joke? Anybody want to tell us a joke?
A knock-knock joke?
Yeah. Do you know a knock-knock joke, Rachel?
I would have known one when I was like the queen of knock-knock jokes when I was very little.
Yes. I remember.
Rachel was too. Rachel was good.
Yeah, I remember going camping with you last summer, and you were hilarious. Everything you were telling us around the campfire.
I can't even remember what it was.
I don't either. I just remember thinking we're going to get in trouble because it was late, and your parents had gone to bed, and I thought they were going to come yell at us, but we were having so much fun, and you were being so funny.
I just remember laughing at Nana and her when we were playing Wink Murderer.
Yeah.
And she cannot wink.
She can't wink?
No, well, it's just very, like, over-exaggerated. Like, it's very, like...
She
and
can't
you're
be
supposed to, like,
subtle.
yeah, you're supposed to, like, do it very, like, you know, so no one can see that you're winking, or else they'll know it's you. But we caught on to it pretty quick that it was Nana.
I get my acting skills from Nana. I'm also not subtle. It's amazing that both Jamie and Mitchell are so good, and Jeff are so good at acting, and they didn't get it from me. Or Nana.
Angie CPL says, I believe so, or else I wouldn't find you. I think she's saying that she was on your Facebook.
One of our Facebook groups, yeah.
Yeah. I'm very rare to comment on YouTube. Somehow I felt that God wanted to encourage you.
Oh,
I'm trying to paint my art waterfalls. My trees are a little bit messed up too, so don't worry.
Yeah, my trees on this painting are so not ready to be seen, so I'm sorry you have to look at those. This is the style that I paint is there's this layer of ugly underpainting that always happens first. Doesn't start looking really pretty until the highlights are on, and I always have to be so patient because I can't put the highlights on until last. And I get sick of looking at the blobs. But if you are wondering, maybe after this live stream or during, if you get bored, you can go and peruse my channel to see how the paintings actually turn out. Because I've got over 100 videos on my channel of completed from start to finish. You'd have to like scroll to the end of the video. What is that noise?
Don't know.
We have a monster.
Is Uncle Jeff home?
No, actually, you know what? Someone's painting the house. I didn't realize that he would be painting the side of the house, but I don't know if you guys can hear that on the live stream, but it sounds like we're being haunted or something.
Sounds like somebody's sawing into something.
Bum, bum, bum. And so, because these are rocks, I'm realizing I've got some of these things in the wrong spots, but you'll be shocked when I start putting on the midtones that rocks aren't like faces. So your eye will kind of fix all the mistakes that I may make, where the rocks are actually in slightly the wrong spot. But
yeah, it doesn't have to be like perfect.
No,
looking like
not at all. It's
the
amazing
reference.
how, what's the word I'm looking for? How forgiving this style of painting is. I've only ever painted that one picture of people, and that was for your mom's birthday, Rachel, a couple weeks ago.
That one was really, really well done. It looks like exactly like the photo.
Well, and the cool thing is, like, your mom definitely in the picture looked like herself, and Sherry looked like our other sister looked like herself, but my face was in shadow. So I painted a picture of me and my sisters when we were little kids. And actually I'm going to put that on my YouTube channel probably next week with a bit of my story. I thought, oh, this will be a perfect time to kind of introduce things about where I came from and things I've thought and just what's the word I'm looking for? Well, I guess what's shaped me and stuff, because as I'm painting, I did a time lapse of this painting of me and my two sisters as little girls. And it just brought up a whole bunch of memories of things I could share. And I use the same method of just painting abstract shapes even inside of our faces and trying to be more specific because they were faces. And Sherry and Julie both look like themselves.
Yeah, because I've never seen you paint faces before, so it's
Well,
really interesting to see.
Yeah, it's funny how you can use this method to paint anything. I'm actually going to be creating a course to show people that they can paint anything. They don't have to just paint animals or just paint skies or just paint people. Like this system works for anything. It's just learning to see and learning to paint abstractly and then walk away and look back and go, oh my gosh, it's no longer an abstract painting.
Yeah.
It's currently a realistic painting. Well, and this one isn't yet. At this point, it's still very abstract. And it takes a lot of patience and faith. That's actually something that I noticed when I first started painting, is you have a lot of doubts. You have a lot of like, I can't wait to get to the real detail so that I can see if I'm doing it right. But because I've actually, I don't even know how many paintings I've made. If I had to guess, probably 50 or 60. now I know, like even if someone critiqued me at this stage, like, oh, you don't know what you're doing, that looks terrible, I would just be like, well, I'm not finished yet. Okay. So I'm going to start now with, I've made a pot of lighter color, and all I did was add white and a little bit of burnt sienna to make sort of the mid-tone of the rock color. So let's start painting some of that. And so the sun is coming from, you can see on this reference photo, the sun's definitely coming from the upper right. And so I'm just going to keep that in mind anytime that I'm looking at any of these dark images. And so the light is making the top of the rock stand out a bit. So again, this is just the mid-tone. We're going to get highlighted on top of these, and it's going to look even better. And sometimes at this stage you can wipe a ton of your paint off and let the brush kind of run out of paint at the last chunk of your stroke, and then it makes the rock look rougher. So do we have any painters watching, or just curious people wondering what painting is like? Is there anyone watching, Rachel?
Yeah, there was 3 people watching.
Oh, wonderful. Hello, everyone. Thank you for keeping me company and keeping me accountable to actually finishing this painting. Although I won't finish it today. I think we're going to do this live stream until these rocks start looking real. And then we'll do another live stream another day to maybe finish up these trees and fix the water, fix the reflections. But I'll probably just stick to the trees, I guess, on the next one. Just try to keep it very focused. Like this one is called How to Paint Rocks. The next one will be How to Paint a Forest, or How to Paint Trees along the seashore, something like that.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like you could it's very easy with these types of paintings to get overwhelmed with like what to do next, or at least in my eyes.
Mm-hmm.
Just like with how much there is to paint and the shadows and highlights and all that.
That's true, yeah. And so it's better just, I mean, I try to just focus on one small area and then, yeah, just not let it overwhelm me. Just, it's really good to like, because I am trying to think and you know, imagine what to say to you guys. I have to kind of disengage my brain a little bit and just do it more by, what's the word, like, I don't know what the word I'm looking for. Not try too hard, I guess.
Gwen Fish said hello from Charleston, SC. I don't know if it's right.
South Carolina?
Oh, probably.
Yeah.
Great tips. Thank you. Love the studio. How do you determine the rock's significance? Significance.
Significance. I'm not sure what you mean by that.
Like how big they are?
Oh,
Or
maybe.
like the size of them? I don't know.
Size, and maybe which ones I'm painting.
Yeah.
If that's what you're asking, the ones that stand out the most to me, I make sure and paint those in, and I kind of paint them in the approximate places. Like this one stands out to me, this one stands out to me, this one stands out to me, that guy for sure does, which is this guy here. And so in each quadrant of the painting, I purposely pick out a few spots that I really try to get right. I try to get those spots right, and then everything in between, I kind of just fake it a little bit. And it's amazing. Like I often, even at this distance, I'm like, oh, this is horrible. This just looks like a 5-year-old painted this picture. And I often have to cleanse my palette. I always tell myself, cleanse my palette. And what I mean is cleanse my vision. I look outside for a few minutes. I walk across the room 30 feet back, and I look back at the painting. And usually at that point, this enthusiasm and excitement comes over me. I'm like, holy cow, it actually looks like something. And I trust that that's going to happen, just with, I have to give it some time now. Like, I can't do it too soon. I have to kind of get some of these steps in, and then I get to go back and kind of get the prize of, oh my gosh, it's working. Something I meant to explain too is I use these piles of color, and I'm looking everywhere on the rocks to see where this same color exists. And if you notice by pattern, I did all the dark first, and then now I'm doing this mid color, and then after that I'm going to start with this lighter color, and then it's actually going to start popping and looking more three-dimensional. And I learned this technique by watching another painter do it live, and it just made so much sense. I've seen people make the mistake of starting in the upper left-hand corner, painting all the way to the bottom or something like that, and just like always mixing a new color, and only kind of working a little ways out. And I think that would just take so much time. And it's a way, it's a nice effect. Like, people can paint very like hyperrealism like that, but my goal isn't hyperrealism. My goal is impressionism, and to have fun while painting too. I often just put some music on, or a podcast, or I pray for people in my life, and just make it kind of almost like a meditation. Lots of times I actually have to ask God for the courage to keep painting, or the energy. Like, I don't know why, but painting can sometimes really tire me out, just almost emotionally. Coming from the inside out. I don't know why that is. It can really take a lot out of me, but it's also very satisfying. Also, I'm using the shape of the brush to kind of do some of the work for me. Like, it's a knife edge brush, and so if I want a nice smooth face, I angle my brush in a certain way to help that smooth face happen. And if I want like a rough edge, then I like pull away.
Gwen Fish said, "This reminds me of the numbered paintings that people used to do in the 50s.
Oh, cool.
And so that she can see how that kind of method works for
Oh, okay.
painting.
Yeah, I guess that would make sense, because on the numbers, then you would just mix. Maybe they would include number 8, and it was red, and then you went everywhere on the whole painting and painted all the number 8s, and it probably looked like nothing until maybe you're on like 3rd or 4th color, and then suddenly it started. Yeah, that's cool. It is. It's kind of like painting by number without without anyone telling you which color should go where, other than just your eyes. Yeah, that's cool. I like that.
And she said, "Thank you. I was wondering about the brush."
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, if there's anything else I'm not explaining, let me know, and I would love to tell you. Okay, so they're coming along. There's a lot missing in between, though. A lot missing in between, so I might just, sometimes I just do real quick, like I said before, I was just filling in between. So I'm not, these ones won't be correct to the painting. I'm just thinking, well, keep in mind there's a couple of really small ones really close together, boop, boop, boop. And then there's some, linear ones that are more medium size. And then there's some really little ones. And then sometimes there's too much paint on my brush, and so I need to rinse it out in my water, wipe a bunch of it off on my paper towel so that I get the shape back on my brush. Load it with just the amount I want. Otherwise, you just kind of, the paint is too blobby to do the shapes that you're trying to do. So at this point, all of these medium tones that I'm doing, I'm going to go through afterwards and do the dark color on the bottom, the one, like this part of the dark that's not there yet. But right now I just want to use the color that I've already mixed and get some of this in-between stuff done so that you can see that these rocks will look like rocks sooner than later. And so maybe what I'll do is I'll focus on this little section of the canvas because I think we're going to run out of time, and I want to show you the highlights. And
Angie CPL said, do you have to prepare a lot of, I'm guessing she's trying to say art supplies first before you do a live like this, or like art in general?
Mm-hmm. All that I did to prepare was I had this canvas already made. Like, I mean, I've been working on it since April, and I just set it aside and got frustrated with it. So yeah, I guess that took some preparation, but it was just something that I had sitting waiting for me to finish, and I just decided to do a live with it. And then all I did was just pre-mix some of these colors so that you guys didn't have to sit and watch me just stirring around on my palette. And the only other thing is we went on a couple of the different Facebook groups that I belong to and let people know that we're going live. So we planned this an hour ago, and that part I put it on my community tab that in an hour I'm going live, and then on a bunch of different places on Facebook I let people know that I was going live. You know what we didn't do, Rachel? We didn't go to my personal Facebook page.
Oh!
I totally should have done that. I mean, we have tons of people on the Sunshine Coast here that would have loved to have followed along.
Oh, that's funny.
But I just went into my private groups, all the different art ones and Christian ones and video Facebook groups I belong to. So that was a bit of prep to go to those places and write pertinent posts and post the picture of what I was about to do. But other than that, it's actually, going live is actually pretty easy. I just needed Rachel to give me the confidence to do it. I would recommend having a second person with you to go live, because Rachel's sitting looking at my computer screen and then reading comments to me and letting me know if I'm in the right spot on the...
Gwen Fish said, Lori, what is the brand on the brush that you're using? Are you using canvas or wood?
Oh, on the brush or on the...
Or I think she's asking what the brand of the brush is, and then also are you using canvas and wood?
Yeah, this is canvas, like it's actual fabric that's stretched around a canvas. And actually the brushes, this particular one is probably a dollar store brush. We live in Canada, and so we have dollar stores, which I don't know what you guys call them if you're from the States. And so I'm really not picky about the type of brushes that I use except for the shape. I really like these flat knife edge brushes. And even if I paid $20 for a brush like that, or if I paid $1, they seem to wear out the same. That's what I learned early on, that I don't need to spend a lot of money on brushes because they're just gonna wear out anyways, and I usually need to buy a lot of them, so I might as well just buy the cheap ones.
Angie CPL says, I found you on the Thriving Artist Facebook. I think
Oh,
it is.
cool.
But yeah, she noticed that you didn't put it on your own Facebook.
Silly me.
That's so funny that we didn't even.
Yeah, I didn't even consider doing that. And yet, I mean, I have my personal Facebook page, and then I also have my business, Lori Morris Paintings page that I didn't put it on either. I just find Facebook is funny too. It's funny like YouTube, that it doesn't promote to your audience. So I often don't purposely post things to my business, a painting page, because I might even get like 4 likes on something, and I have, you know, whatever, 300 or 400 people that are interested in my Lori Morris Paintings page. So what I realized is that the live communities that I'm actually involved with, that people actually go on every day and connect with each other, seem to be the best places to.
Angie CPL said that she made her own frame, but it's a smaller size. It's 0.5 inch each side, so she thinks it'll be cheaper to send out. But do you think a thicker frame is better for it?
I do like the finished, like this is 1.5 inches deep, and on a wall it just looks so nice. It's like, you know, 3-dimensional almost, kind of sticking out from the wall. And So that's why I do it. And I don't mail my paintings very many places. Like a lot of locals and people in a big city near us buy my bigger pieces. So yeah, shipping can be so pricey if it's heavy and large. And so I just haven't gotten into that very much. And I think what works better for distance is making prints on paper. And I also make, my paintings I have 9 different pillows, silky kind of zippered pillows that you could put pillow inserts into. And those are super lightweight and they're really, really vibrant and colorful. And they actually just get folded up and go into an envelope and are super easy to mail. So yeah, long distance, I'm just sharing my art with paper prints or with these pillows or with my art cards. And all of those things are on my Etsy store, which is in the link of the description, if anyone wants to see what those look like.
Yeah, and I feel like for people that maybe live in the States, it also would be super expensive for them if they're paying shipping to buy like a huge piece, like your bigger pieces. So
yeah, for sure. Because then there's duty and there's all sorts of things to deal with when you're going across different countries. So I'm going to take this time right now to walk across the room, look back and see, like a lot of times I have to at this stage look from far away to just see if there's any major mistakes I'm making. It's hard to see close up, just like in real life. You have to get a bigger perspective to see if some of the decisions you're making are actually good for you or not. I got to see if what I'm doing on this canvas is working or not. Oh, okay, so what I can see from back here that I didn't notice up front is that they're looking very round. The rocks are all looking like little balls. And so I need to start making some that are kind of more rectangular, like purposely linear almost. And maybe even slightly different directions. And definitely I want to mix up big rocks and little rocks. So all that means is the way that the tops reflect, like a top of a little rock would reflect just a little sliver, and the top of a big rock is a bigger reflection.
When Fish said, "Good luck, Lori. I will find you online."
Okay.
Will you be going live again as you progress with this piece? I'm really going to enjoy watching. Thank you.
Awesome. Yes, I will be continuing this piece live. Next time I'm going to do the trees. This part of the trees is just the underpainting. And so the next time will either be this Saturday. Possibly, yeah, this Saturday we're going to do a live, and then next Wednesday we'll do a live as well. So we'll on Saturday we'll finish the trees, and then next Wednesday I'll probably do some more on the water. So thank you for coming. It was really good to have you. Thank you for all your questions.
Yeah, there have been a lot more questions this time than last time.
Yeah. It's definitely a much more fun way to use YouTube. Like YouTube, posting videos upon videos upon videos is such a lonely process. And you just don't really know who your audience is, whether, and of course you always assume that they're thinking bad things. I don't know why, but when you go live you realize there's just good people out there.
It's a great way to be able to connect more easily with people who watch your videos.
Mm-hmm. And something I have to always remember too is to look what happens underneath a rock. Like it doesn't just sit like that. Like there's always something else in front of it. So gotta make sure and put some things in front. And so again, this is just kind of the first pass. Like I wouldn't, you know, even after, you know, I've done the dark tones, the mid tones, and the highlights, I wouldn't be like, okay, those are perfect. That's just the first pass. I usually let that dry, and then I'll come back with a smaller, finer brush and start adding little pokes and little dots and little kind of things that kind of make it look a bit more random, because right now it looks a little bit too, yeah, everyone's like too evenly spaced out and things like that. But you got to start somewhere. So like I say, this is just the first pass of getting a lot of detail in quickly. Something I would love to do is paint on location, basically on plein air. I haven't done a lot of that yet.
Oh, that'd be interesting.
Yeah.
Just being sitting there and painting everything that you
Yeah,
see.
yeah. I've tried it twice, and I was surprised at how the weather really affects you. Like, even if it's a little bit warm, it's like, oh my gosh, you just die of heat while you're out there. And then if it's just a little bit breezy, then everything flies off your... Actually, I think it was Leonardo da Vinci. Was it him? I think it was him that used to paint outside, and they're still finding, when they use a microscope, they find bugs embedded in his work.
Oh my god.
Yeah, and it's so interesting. It's like, how old is this bug that they found?
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
It's probably kind of like fossilized because of the paint surrounding it.
Imagine that, I don't know, just historically the things that they could learn about, even probably where he painted it and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So anyway, I mean, so it's neat now that he's got bugs embedded, but I'm sure it was a total bother at the time. He was probably thinking, these stupid bugs, why are they landing in my paint? And then back then, they couldn't just go to the store and buy, you know, a canvas and buy paint. Like, he had to, like, you know, weave his canvas. No, I don't know about weaving the canvas, but like actually like stretch it and then, you know, actually create the paints from scratch. They had to be basically little scientists, as well as artists. We have it so much easier now. What the other thing I'm noticing as I'm going along here is that there's actually quite a bit of a variation of color in here. When I'm looking close, I can see that there's some grays, there's some warmer colors, there's some gray, there's some really light colors. So again, when I go through and do more passes, I would then start picking out some of these gray spots and then just randomly start putting in some of the gray spots. So I don't know how far we'll get into that in this live stream. What is the time, Rachel?
It's 12:08 right now. So we've been live streaming for about 38 minutes.
Okay, so it is going a bit longer than I thought, but I think I want to keep going because I'm not really happy with them looking like rocks yet. Do we still have watchers?
Yeah, we have 2 right now.
Okay, so yeah, they're coming, but they still look very round to me. Extremely round.
Like a little too perfect.
Yeah, just kind of looks like a cartoon. And some of that's because I'm not taking the time to wipe off the excess paint off my brush so I can really control these highlighted shapes and make them like really square feeling or like a rigid. Yeah, they're just, rocks aren't actually round. They're like sharp and stuff. So I need to pay attention to some of this sharpness. Talk less.
The little ducklings are still in the pond.
Are they in the bath out there?
So cute.
Oh, they are too. Ah, they're so adorable. We need another camera.
Yeah,
for the ducklings.
A duck cam.
A duck cam. There we go. And it's almost like I've gone to the highlighted color too quickly, but I am rushing this so that we can get some results here. But you'll see when we do the live stream on Saturday, I'll probably do a couple more passes over these rocks and they'll look really nice by then. So does anyone out there have a preference for what time on Saturday we should do the other live stream? Is anyone around on Saturday? I'm gonna come back and see. Yeah, my colors here are very, yeah, there's a lot more golden colors that I see up here, and mine are kind of almost ashy. So sometimes you can't notice that until you get into it. And the nice thing about if it's too light, I can come back with some like really watered down paint and quickly change the tones of these light colors. So it's not a mistake, it's just not finished. So currently I've only got like 3 colors that I'm using: Payne's Gray, burnt umber, and white, and a tiny bit of burnt sienna. But I think maybe that's the problem. I need some more burnt sienna to warm it up. Maybe even a bit of yellow to warm it up. Gotta love acrylic paint. I've actually never painted with oil, but apparently this type of painting, that like the way that my method apparently works really well with oil paints as well. So it probably wouldn't be a big stretch for me to do oil. I once was in a plein air yes, the one of the 2 times I did plein air painting. I was in a garden in Vancouver in what was it called? Queen Elizabeth Park. And there was all these categories. It was like a contest, and there was all these categories, and I won first prize. Was it first prize or second prize? And anyways, in the oil category, and I'm like, but I didn't paint with oil. And I thought, oh no, I cheated.
Did they tell you why that you went with that?
Well, they just saw the method. I guess they just thought, I don't know why they
thought
that it was oil, because I'm like, maybe because it's like a painterly way. Like this is called a painterly approach, when it's kind of impressionistic and kind of just blobbing on the paint. And so I just assumed. But I got $100. It was nice to spend at the art store in Vancouver. Okay, so here I have a lot of, that's what happens when you don't clean your brush off enough. And so I'm going to use my paper towel, wipe most of it off, and get my sheet back. So get the control back. So I can do all sorts of other little dabs and doodles. It's a little bit like stamping. Like you're kind of just using the tip of the brush to kind of stamp little blobs of paint in little, and I'm not even being all that particular with what, basically just the direction that the blob of paint's going to land on is all I'm really trying to do. And then I'm just letting it go, letting it be its little blob. I think that's how Bob Ross painted too. Like he definitely wasn't a realism painter, but from a distance it looked crazy good, and see, he was so quick at it. He could just quickly just do some brush strokes.
He was really quick at like.
Yeah. I mean, he by the time his shows were only like 35 minutes long, and he had painted an entire painting. And there was enough detail in it that you knew exactly what it was. So I'm not quite that fast yet. But I have improved. It used to take me 3 years to complete a painting. And now, this one's been since April. But not that I've been painting solid on it since April.
Yeah, if you worked on it like every day, every other day,
it would be a lot faster. Yeah. Maybe a week would probably take me to finish this one.
Angie said, Saturday, what time? If it's morning, it's my Friday night.
Oh. So is that a good thing?
I don't know. I don't know.
Is that like a party?
Yeah, a little party, Friday night painting party.
Yeah, I don't know, Rachel. What time are you available? What time do you want to get up on Saturday?
I'm probably maybe like noon. We could probably do it at like 1 maybe. Because last time I feel like we did it at like 2, 3.
Yeah.
So maybe we'll try it at noon or 1.
Noon or 1?
Yeah.
Which one? Actually, if we could, I wouldn't mind doing noon, because it's probably going to be really nice out. I don't know
Oh,
if I
yeah.
want to be inside for too long on that day.
Mm-hmm.
Can we do that?
Yeah.
Okay, let's do noon on Saturday, and we'll do these trees up here. Boo, boo, boo. Wow. Boo, boo, boo. Maybe what I should do is get a different size brush. Like sometimes if you find your strokes are all looking the same, all you need to do is change it up by giving yourself maybe like a... This one had dried paint on it, so, but it's the size that I want. So let's see if it works. So it's quite a bit narrower than the other one, but it's got the same knife edge shape. Let's see if I can try to make some of these rocks more square. Give them some more corners. Boom, boom, boom. So anyone out there watch live streams regularly? Like, is this sort of more like how you like to use YouTube? I haven't really gotten into watching lives a lot yet, but I think I would like it more too, because I really like to ask questions and feel like the person is actually answering my specific questions. Especially when it comes to YouTube marketing, that's the sort of videos that I watch.
Yeah, I feel like I've only watched a few live streams, but it's more, I find it more fun to be able to ask questions and
Interact.
Yeah.
Tell them what you had for breakfast and stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, so I start dabbing in inside these little in-between areas. I'm wondering if it's working. I actually can't tell. I'm too close to it. Sometimes my husband will come home from work and he'll come right up to the canvas and I'll be like, "Don't look at it so close. It looks like garbage from here. Stay across the room." And he gets mad at me. He's like, "No, I want to see it close up." I'm like, "Well, it looks like nothing." You get my view.
Only look at it if you're going to look at it from all the way across the room.
Yeah. Close your eyes. He's not really an artist, not a painting artist anyways. He's more like a real life artist, like with landscaping, like actually, like making landscaping look nice and cutting shrubs like Edward Scissorhands. And lighting them up because he's an electrician.
Oh, you're getting a nice shot of your hair right now.
Oh!
Well, no, it's just more when you like lean down like that.
Thanks for telling me. That's not fun. That's the best thing about having you here. Like, I have no idea. There were so many so many videos I did early on in my channel where I was wearing a baseball cap and I was filming from from a table, yeah, and above, and my baseball cap is like blocking the whole painting. Or my hair, like it was windy. Like actually one time I was on a deck and the wind was like blowing my hair into the camera. And go for like 10 minutes doing that and I'm like, sorry. So now I'm specifically looking for the really odd crisscrossy shapes because I want to make sure that I'm not making it too perfect, and there's a lot of messy cool little details that will help make it become more real. So I'm going to go across the room and see if it's working. Yeah, so even though I'm putting in some different edges and stuff, they still look pretty round. Looks like a bunch of tennis balls sitting on the beach. But it's coming. I mean, it's not terrible. It's just too soon to critique it, really, is what it is. But But you know what's funny, when I'm either videoing live now or even doing a video that I'm going to put on later, I get really impatient for people. I'm like, oh, they must be so bored watching this. They must want to see some results. And really, I guess it's my own impatience. I just put my own impatience on people, where sometimes it's just relaxing to see the real life process. I sure liked watching the live demo of when I learned this method. Like, I watched a girl paint for 3 hours.
Yeah.
And I loved every minute of it. Like, I just felt so enthusiastic and excited that she was doing it right before my eyes, and answering questions. And like, we live in such a neat time that we can do this. Boom, boom, boom. So, let's see. What do I want to do next? Yeah, I see that they're coming along. There's definitely, maybe it's too monotone now, is what I'm picking up on. But at least what I've got some things going on right. Like, I have some different shapes, some different, what's the word? Like, some are really big, some are really small. You want to see variation in shapes and sizes and things. But what I don't have variation with right now is variation in tone. I definitely need to put some yellows and some warms and some, even like this one has a tiny little bit of like almost green.
Yeah, that's what I was seeing too.
Yeah, green.
It's probably because
Green.
there's some seaweed on there too. So.
Well, it's almost like rocks do the coolest thing with light. Like, they start looking like gems. And so, yeah, this is pretty, it looks kind of monotone when you don't really look at it too closely, but then when you start picking out colors, it's like, actually, it's not monotone. If you ever go to the beach where there's pebbles and stuff, oh my gosh, there's coral colors in there, there's speckles, there's spots, there's stripes. Like, yeah, it's just amazing. The detail in rocks, and they're just rocks, they're not even special stones, but wow, it's really hot in here for some reason.
You're also wearing a long sleeve shirt too.
Yeah, it's a really light shirt though, so I'm surprised how much heat it's holding.
And also, this room always gets like super warm.
Yeah. Let's open up those doors.
Straight for 52 minutes.
Okay. Well, I actually just walking across the room there, I looked back and I kind of cleansed my eyes by looking outside for a quick second. And it actually is coming along. It's so funny how you don't see it.
It is.
It's definitely looking like a pile of rocks.
Yeah.
And of course I gotta do a bunch more work down here and a bunch more work up here. But that's basically the method for doing rocks. So I think we'll just end our live stream there. Is there anyone watching that has another question? Nope. Thank you so much for being with us, and if you're watching on the replay, if you have any questions that I didn't answer, I will definitely answer those in the comments. Please subscribe. I'm going to come back on Saturday at 12, and then next Wednesday again to finish up this painting. Wednesday we'll probably do 11:30 again.
Yeah.
And then I'll also put on the community tab a confirmation of both of those things. So thank you again. And